people, and it's just a great
Yes.
place to be.
It is. Well, come visit, please.
Well, thank you
We'll
so
put you
much.
up. Yeah, we've got a nice spot or two there that we share with
Nice.
friends. So please come visit.
Oh, thank you.
It's a nice place to. I grew up there, so
Ah,
All right,
yeah.
gentlemen, it's 6 p.m. Central, and we are live.
we're live. We're live. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone. It is 4 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Mountain, and here in Costa Rica, 7 o'clock on the East Coast, where our guest is today. Midnight in Dublin, and I'm going to pull up my phone so I get this right. Of what it is all over the world. It is midnight in Dublin and in London, 1 a.m. in Milan and Warsaw and the rest of Europe, 4:30 a.m. Wednesday morning in New Delhi, 9 a.m. Wednesday morning in Brisbane, Australia, 11 a.m. in Auckland, New Zealand, and it's Facebook Live. And it's really great to be with you. And we are back home now. We've been on the road for a while, 2 months actually. So it's great to be back in a closer time zone with most of the people who are here. And we've been home for a couple of days, and we're acclimating and doing really well with it. Just happy to be back. Our guest today, I'm really excited about this. This is a really important topic, I think, for all of us, because we take it for granted and don't know the real value of olive oil. And TJ Robinson is the founder of the Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club. Now that sounds like, well, okay, what's that mean? So I'm going to read you his bio because it's really interesting. TJ Robinson, the olive oil hunter and founder of the Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club, is one of the world's most respected authorities on all matters olive oil. Known for his platinum palate, he is one of the few Americans invited to serve as a judge in prestigious Italian olive oil tasting competitions. Now that's a feather in your cap. That really is. He's dedicated to importing rare, fresh pressed olive oil, the most flavorful and most healthful extra virgin olive oil on the planet, until now virtually impossible to obtain year-round in the US. All his oils are independently lab tested, certified as 100% purity. So let's just get into it. TJ, why olive oil? Why did you do that?
Why olive oil? Great question. Great question. You know, back when I discovered olive oil, I was a card-carrying foodie. I really had no interest in health back in those days. It was 20 years ago. I was, I think, probably in my early 20s, and health and all that sort of stuff had really not entered my vision. I was a food writer, a wine writer, travel writer, and I was assigned a trip to Sicily. And I happened to be there in the fall. And this really sweet family, Matteo and his family, invited me to an olive harvest. And I was like, I could not miss that. I mean, I'm a Southern boy. I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina. I understood what like going to an apple harvest festival was, and like the celebrations and all the donuts and like all the special,
Oh, it's such a special thing. The donuts, apple cider mills in the fall.
Exactly.
You bet.
Exactly.
You bet.
Well, I understood the difference between, let's say, store-bought apple juice versus a fresh pressed apple cider. But in those days, on this trip to Sicily, I discovered fresh pressed olive oil. So I can give you a little bit of story on that. So this family invited me. We spent the day in the Grove. It was beautiful, overlooking the sea there, the Mediterranean Sea. It was just beautiful. It takes a lot of work. We harvested these very green olives from the tree. Those green olives are really hard to pick. We put them in small crates. We covered them with branches to keep the sun from hitting them and damaging the fruit. We had this amazing barbecue, like a grilled lunch with fresh ricotta cheese and grilled Sicilian sausages and bread. And it's just a beautiful time of year to celebrate a harvest like that. And in Italy, it's called Novello, and it's a big deal. Olive oil is part of their DNA. It literally flows through their veins, and they're very passionate about it. So this family invited me. I had an amazing time. Later in the day, we filled up the back of their little, imagine like a Golf, but it's called a Fiat Panda. It's a little 4-wheel drive car that they use a lot in Italy, kind of like a car / work truck. And we load these bins, and it was a lot of work, but we got, I don't know, probably 25 bins of fruit, and we put them in the back of the Fiat Panda, and we drive to the mill. And this is my first time. So like, on these hills, I'm like, oh gosh, if I live
The
through
car
this,
spittering and sputtering.
Exactly. If I live through this, it's going to be great. I didn't really speak Italian, and they didn't speak English. So it was like a whole thing. But anyway, we go to the mill, we write our name on the pieces of paper and put on top of our bins, and we wait. And suddenly I see this culture. All these Italian families are bringing their fruit that they've harvested from their properties. These trees have been in their families for generations. This is literally their DNA, right?
Yes.
So they stand there with their bins of fruit. They visit with their friends. They talk about the harvest. They smoke cigarettes. They drink whiskey. There's a fire going where they're toasting bread, and suddenly it's our turn. We take the fruit, and they start to process the fruit. And a few minutes later, they hand us what looks like these small white cups, the one I'm showing if you have video. And we step up to the olive mill, the press there, and the first drips start to come out of the fresh pressed olive oil. And in my cup, it literally looked like wheatgrass juice. And I,
Wow.
being an American, and being a quarter Southern redneck, as I say, I'd never experienced anything like this thing that was in my cup, because I was an American and I knew about quality olive oil, and this was 20 years ago, and I thought I knew what quality olive oil was, but until that moment when I saw this kind of liquid green gold in my glass, and I could immediately smell like all the aromas and the polyphenols. They were like tickling my nose. It was just a magical moment. And then I took a sip, and then my life totally changed, because I knew at that moment, I was so, can I use this word, upset, maybe a stronger word than that. But I was really upset that this product had been kept from me. Again, I thought I knew everything in the world about quality food ingredients as a chef, as a highly competitive chef, traveled, etc. But this moment that I tasted fresh oil, I brought bottles back to my friends and family. They flipped out about it. They ran out and said, "How do I get more?" Long story short, I discovered that these families in other parts of the world, when they immigrated, they took olive cuttings with them, and they planted olives in the Southern Hemisphere. So I founded a club called the Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club, where I travel around the global harvest. All those time zones you were talking about before, that's kind of how my family keeps up with me, because they're like,
Yes.
which time zone are you in, TJ? I'm like, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. I'm in Victoria. They're harvesting olives right now. This is where I am. But that's how I travel and get fresh oil 4 times a year for my club members. So anyway, that's just a little backstory
I get it.
to get us
I
started.
get it. Well, that really demonstrates the passion of what you do, and that it's not a job. It's not a profession. It's a passion. It's an avocation. It's in your DNA to do this.
100%. 100%. I work with these small family farmers all over the world who don't have access to the American market. And most olive oil that's imported into the US is we'll just call it low quality bulk olive oil. It's consumer grade olive oil. So I've given these small family farmers who produce amazing oil access to
Yeah.
my club.
Major.
And so anyway, it's a curation, it's quarterly, I've developed relationships with these farmers and these families over the last few decades. When I first started visiting some of these families, the kids were in diapers. Now they're driving the vehicles. Like, and when I come, it's like, it's like Thanksgiving when TJ comes, because it's like that time of the year, it's the harvest and good things are about to happen. So I'm really blessed and really happy that I found that I kind of rode the wave of the learning about the health benefits of olive oil, because I pivoted at a certain point in the club's life to solely working with people that were interested in investing in their health. Of course, it's not drinking cod liver oil. It tastes amazing. So it's a really easy to swallow pill. But it is, so I've been really lucky. And the science has been really incredible over the last 20 years, narrowing in on not only the fat profile that we've known is really good for you, the fat makeup of olive oil. And I'd love for you to talk about health benefits because that's your world. But they've really gotten into these polyphenols. A lot of this comes down to polyphenols. And these are antioxidants that the olive tree has used to survive for millennia and thrive. And so there are things that happen in olive oil, and specifically fresh olive oil. These polyphenols, they deteriorate over time, in about 6 months by about 50%. So long story short, it's very important that these studies continue to reveal the health benefits of olive oil. And it's not only about the fat, but it's about these high quality, green, early harvest olive oils that are like filled with potency. As you know, you're a club member, Dr. Tom.
Yes, they're just remarkable. I can relate so clearly to what you're talking about. Many of our attendees here tonight have heard me talk about adaptogenic herbs and about a company called Sunhorse, which I'm the medical director for. And we're so proud that every one of our ingredients are the most difficult to find and to get, because it's not the commercially produced ingredient. It's the indigenous people, for example, maca. And many people have heard of maca and how good it is for you. But our maca comes from the University of Peru, where the original studies were done. That maca grows at 8,000 feet high up in the Andes. But the maca that you buy from the local health food store grows at sea level. And it's a very different product with very different components in it. It's still a benefit. People get benefit, but it's apples and oranges. So when you're talking about olives and about the health, everybody's heard about olive oil as being good for you. They're not sure why, but they know it is. But when you can get this kind of product that is head and shoulders, apples and oranges compared to any other extra virgin, organic, cold pressed olive oil that you buy at Whole Foods, you do a brown bag test. And I'm sure you've got I shouldn't say this, but I would assume you've got a money back guarantee. Try our club. If you don't like it, let us know. We'll give you your money back. And you keep the oil that we sent you, because once you do a brown bag of the most expensive olive oil at Whole Foods and what comes from TJ, it's apples and oranges. You just would never want to go back if you can, if you have the option. So I'm really grateful for you and for what you do. It makes our lives so much happier when I open a bottle and go, oh, that's nice. That's really nice. And I never do that with olive oils, any other olive oils,
True.
And we just came back. We just spent a lot of time in a small village in Italy on a organic vineyard that's been there 400 years. And the house of the owner and going down in the cellar, it's 400 years old. And it's just magical to be there, and I got involved in the bottling, that some of the wines, while we were there, coincidentally, it was time to bottle. They had been in the casks for 18 months or 24 months, time to bottle. So for 2 days, I was in there. We did 6,000 bottles, and I'm in there just helping out. And I actually brought a speaker that I travel with, and I put it out and I put on some music that I like. And so everybody's just having a good time while we're doing the bottling. And the wine it's organic as organic can be, and just the purest wine with absolutely nothing interfering with the quality. The vineyard is called Luli, L-U-L-I. And they ship now to the US. The owner of the vineyard, the current owners, started a distribution company. So that I just gave them a little plug. But it's the same kind of highest quality, purest product for you and your family. So we're going to put the link here now so that everyone can get the link. And let's just tell them what the incentive is so that people can just start signing up now. What are we doing here today?
Sure. So, I'm, as I may have mentioned, I'm an ex-chef, and I'm a believer in the proofs in the pudding. I want you to taste. I'm a sharer. Like, as a chef, that's what we do. We put our hearts on a plate and we send it out and hope for the best and to make people's hearts smile. And so what I do, I have a very generous offer to join my club. The first bottle that people receive, it's a full size bottle, it's either this size or the size that's twice this size, is $1. It's $1. And yes, so literally $1, like no risk, zero risk. And to get that free bottle, it's not on my website. You have to go to a special link that I've set up for your listeners, and that's getfresh28.com, GET fresh, FRESH 28.com. So what'll happen, you'll go on, you'll sign up for the club. It's a trial membership. You will receive this olive oil. These are fresh from the Chilean harvest right now. This is the mild and medium this quarter, or mild and bold actually. And you'll receive one of those oils, and you will have approximately 3 weeks to test the oil. I want you to try it with a blind tasting, with the brown bag. Like you said, I want you to pull the olive oil out of your pantry and grab a tasting glass or an espresso cup or anything and just do a tasting. You're going to know when you pop that seal on the bottle. A gentleman named Larry Olmsted, wrote a book called Real Food, Fake Food. You would love that book, Dr. Tom. It talks about fake Parmesan and about fake wine and about fake olive oil, and really gets into that. But anyway, taste test the oil for yourself. If you remain a member, you can cancel at any time. There's no obligation to buy anything else. What happens is on my next quarterly shipment, which will be in September, you will automatically receive 3 bottles of oil. And that'll happen every quarter. And those are fresh from around the world. I fly them in by jet. I work with these small family farmers. I put them on a jet. I get them directly to you. I'm the single link in the chain between the farmer and you, because the problem with most olive oil is there's too many fingers in the pie. Everybody too much going on, and it's a lack of control, right? It's like just like the winery you're at. They're unable to make beautiful wine with crappy fruit. They focus on the fruit. It's the same with olives. They really care for their orchard. They raise these fruit to be beautiful. This is the oil that they make to send to competitions because this is their highest quality oil. It's the greenest. It's the most polyphenol potent. It's the most flavorful. It's also what they're serving their families. It's what they're having at their dinner table. So, they're not doing things to these olive trees that they wouldn't give to their great grandbabies. This is their
sweet.
And these olive trees they don't need a lot of intervention. Olive trees thrive. Like in Sicily, there are ones that are thousands of years old, beautiful olive trees that are just gnarled trunks and all that sort of thing. Olive trees don't need a lot of intervention. They produce beautiful fruit if you take care of them. So anyway,
TJ, I've got a couple of questions. Anne is posting the link there for everyone. And
Great.
I like this idea that for $1, you get to try it and see, right? And then I really like the idea that if you say, well, yeah, I'll give this a shot. So I'll give it a 3-month trial. And because he's sending you 3 bottles, it's about a bottle a month. You know, you might use a little more, you might use a little less. And then you decide, do I want to continue this or not? But I like the idea of the initial for $1, you can try it, because then you're not shipping every month. Because shipping every month is so much fuel and so much of an expense that
wasteful.
Try it for $1, see what you think. You say, well, wow, this is really I noticed this is different. Wow, I like the taste of this. And you make your salad dressing with it, or you put it on your fresh gluten-free pasta, you know, however you're going to use it. And then you get enough for 3 months. And then you can decide, do I want to continue this or not? So I like that idea. I've never heard of that before. And I think it's brilliant because you're reducing the amount of energy it takes to get this highest quality product to people. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I mean, really, the timing of the club is based on Mother Nature and the seasonal harvest. So as I was telling you, I work the Mediterranean in October and November. And then after that, I'm in January, February, I'm in Spain and Portugal, as their harvest normally wraps up around March. And that's for my March shipment. And then after that, I go to Chile. In early May, I work the harvest in Chile, and my club members have that oil in mid-June. And then I'm off to Australia, and then back to the Mediterranean. So these immigrants who left during, great famines and that sort of thing, when there was root flocks and that sort of thing that happened, these big boats, like for example, in Melbourne, Australia, there are massive Greek and Italian boats that were just, landing in Australia with immigrants for the last, let's say 50 years ago. These folks actually, in their neckties, they would hide their olive cuttings or in the seams of their pants, because they wanted to take a little bit of their family with them to the New World. This was their heritage. It had been on their land for 400 plus years, as you know. So anyway, they take these cuttings to the New World, and they learn that olives are a viable crop. In Chile and Argentina, they needed it for their food. They needed it for medicine. They needed it for religious purposes. They really just needed it. It's literally in their DNA. So in Argentina, in Chile, even in Brazil, you'll find olive oil. And also New Zealand and Australia, huge. The second largest population, I think, outside of Greece is in Melbourne, Australia.
Wow.
So there's these immigrant communities around the world support these small family growers. So like in Australia, my buddy Mick there, who pretty much speaks Italian with his whole team, he brings his miller in from Italy every year just to press his olives on an Italian press, because Italian is not best. We can go into that, but just because it says an Italian doesn't mean it's the best. But anyway, Mick, for example, he hangs out at all these, let's say, like we have Italian American places. Well, there would be Australian Italian places where he goes, and the whole cafe is abuzz with Italian. Like you think,
and you sit there, you have a little glass of wine, and with all of the locals, and you're talking, they're talking Italian, but you're in Australia. Yeah, I get
Australia. It's a really cool thing. And I don't know, Dr. Tom, I didn't get the exact timing on how much time we have today. I'm not sure how deep
we've got
I can
an
go.
hour, so we've got about another 35 minutes. We got plenty of time, because there's questions coming in.
Yes.
And the first question I have for you is many of our listeners are here from Europe. And do you ship to Europe, or do you ship outside the US?
We do not. See, fortunately, in Europe, you have access to good farms. In the US, we only produce about 5% of what we consume in the US, mostly in California. So we are dependent on imported
Yes.
olive oil,
Got
most
it.
of which is pretty low quality. It's standard bulk commodity olive oil, kind of like the maca you talked about. If you can only afford to buy store bought maca or health food store, it's good. You know, it's like good, better, best. You know,
Got
if
it.
you can afford store bought olive oil, even if it's like a junky imported one, it's probably better than canola oil and seed oils and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Absolutely
and
is.
and then okay, next maybe better category. That may be like a California olive oil. At least it's not gone through a million, grubby hands between there and here. And then, like sometimes you read the bottles and it's a country of origin from 6 different countries. And you're like, how much love could be in this? It's from, I don't understand. And then there's the best category, which is these small single estate farms like I work with. And then, like I said, I'm an ex-chef. And for me, olive oil is a sauce that Mother Nature made for you. So I don't think of olive oil as something I oil my pan with. I think
Right.
of it as, what is this sauce and what is this fruit capable of making a sauce for me? So that's why every quarter my club members get a mild, a medium, and a bold oil in their trio. And
Ah,
why is that? Well, because we're making different caliber of foods in our kitchen. So, for example, if you're making a delicate fish or shrimp, you might want to use or would like to use a light, I won't use the word light, but a milder olive oil. If you're
right.
making a bistecca florentina, for example, like they would in Tuscany, that's charred on the grill, you're going to use a big, heavy, bold oil. So it's kind of like pairing food and wine or pasta with pasta sauce. Typically, with a heavy pasta sauce, it's going to be a fatter, like rigatoni. If it's a very delicate pasta sauce, it's going to be a tiny little, I don't know, delicate handmade pasta. But pairing
And
olive oil with food is kind of the same principle.
and I've had the experience that because I've traveled so much, sometimes I have oils that are not used up in a month or two. So I'll have 3 or 4 different bottles of olive oil, sometimes in the kitchen. And this is more before I got married to Marzi. And, I would try these, I'd do some tastings on a spoon and I'd say, oh, these are really different. They're all great, but this one I'm going to use with a pasta because I want like a meat sauce to mix with it. But this one I'm putting on my salad because it's milder. It's not as bold. It doesn't like hang on my throat so much. And it was fun. It's always been fun to kind of merge these oils, knowing that every single one of them is of highest quality. And now let's talk about some of the health benefits that you've
please.
summarized about olive oils. Tell us what you've learned over the years about your products.
Well, a lot comes down to freshness. So there's a couple things related to olives themselves as fruit. So we all know, for example, let's go back to apples. We all know the taste difference between a Granny Smith and a Golden Delicious and a, let's say, Gala, right? So those are different olive varieties. If we were to squeeze those, we would have 3 different juices. They're going to taste different. Well, real amazing olive oil is nothing but olive juice. They're literally, the fruit is taken from the tree, it is mechanically smashed and separated into the parts. So the solids, which would be the pit, the water, and the oil. Literally, the separator mechanically separates them just with a centrifuge to get this. And the oil, of course, is what we consume. So different olive varieties in Italy alone, there are 550 50 olive varieties. Like I could
Whoa.
never get bored. I could never get bored. And
Right.
these are all little regional, interesting, like things that maybe come from this mother, let's say Frantoio, but when it moved to, let's say Abruzzo, then there it becomes Drita. It's called Drita there. And it's kind of similar to Frantoio, but it's its own thing too, because it has adapted to that area and the special microclimates. So, so just to know, olive oil, you could go really deep, kind of like wine. Ultimately, and we can go more in the health stuff, but if you recognize the health differences between and taste differences between dried herbs versus fresh herbs, that's the difference between a commodity bulk product that's dried herbs versus a fresh pressed olive oil that's filled with all these aromas and essential oils. That is akin to fresh herbs. So you like you said, some oils are stronger, they're bolder. And these different olive varieties have not only different taste profiles, but also different health benefits. So there are some olives that impart, more polyphenols in the final oil. So for example, when you try the bold oil, and we can talk more about how do you really identify what good olive oil is. We can talk about that and what to taste for. But really, green fruit makes a huge difference. And the economics of olive oil, especially when you're talking about low yield versus high yield, which is more consumer grade. Low yield, there's crazy people like me that'll come along and say, hey, could you please pick these olives when they're super green? I know you're only going to get about 10% of oil out of this fruit. And I know it's going to be hard to get off the tree. And my club members are willing to pay you to do it. And they are like, yes, we would love to do that. And so what they do, they get their harvest team together. We pick the fruit really green, and what you get out of the final product is a oil that's more concentrated in the antioxidants and polyphenols.
Oh, that's
Now,
interesting.
if I'm a farmer and I have a tree full of fruit, if I leave the fruit hanging on the tree an extra month, let's say after I leave, they leave the olives hanging on the tree a month or 2 months, what I call outside the magic window. So it'd be not in my magic window. Yeah. But
Right.
anyway, they would get 25% up to, let's say 20 to 25% oil. So if you were selling your oil by the liter to the bulk commodity market, it's just like corn in the US. In Spain, it's in the newspaper. There's a price per day. And if it's a low harvest year, then the price is going up. And so basically, the farmer is incentivized to leave the fruit hanging on the tree longer. Health benefits go down, oil content goes up, but they have a lot more oil final product to sell to the bulk market. So that is the economics of olive oil are kind of screwed from the outset, pretty much from that fact. And then so you have most of the farmers in the world that are going after higher yields. In Spain, they'll even let them fall to the floor and vacuum them up, so they have no harvest costs.
They have to go for the higher yield to make a profit. Farmers are not high profit businesses.
No,
they're not. And so to encourage a farmer to pick the fruit when it's the highest quality, the most potent health benefits is, I'm sure there was lots of discussion that had to occur for that. With every farmer that you work with, that you have contracts with, because it's against the line of thinking of what farmers would usually want. You want more tonnage per acre, more liters per acre, because you're selling your product and it's sold by weight or it's sold by volume. So that's why you're getting what you get here. And some questions are coming in. Well, how much is a large versus a small bottle?
Yep.
And posted some information here, but how about if you talk about that for a minute? Let's talk about the
Sure.
different prices.
Sure. So there are basically two price points. This is a 250 ml bottle. I find for most people who like live alone or a couple, they don't cook at home a whole lot. This may be enough. You get 3 bottles, a mild, medium, and bold every quarter. Typically, a family goes through about a bottle a month. Now, if you're a larger family of 4 and you do cook at home and you love olive oil, and honestly, olive oil can be used in so many things. There's big myths about olive oil and you can't cook with it. There's big myths that you can't bake with it. Well, all that's completely wrong. We can definitely go down that rabbit hole together. But the 3 bottle set of the 250 ml is $99 per quarter. The size that is double this, 500 ml, 3 bottles, that price is $139 per quarter. And I've not raised my prices in over a decade. And how have I done that? Because I've grown with the farmers I've worked with. And I have been able to scale the club and keep them going and keep me going. And I've found efficiencies as I've grown the club. It's still a very boutique club. And, really, this is for anointing dishes. It's a finishing oil. This is not something you're going to, use in copious amounts.
You don't deep fry with olive oil, right? It's like after you've sauteed your dish, whatever it is, you might sprinkle a little on top of the chicken. And the result is it adds that extra depth of flavor, and you get a little bit more of the good fats that brings a more comprehensive taste and satisfaction to the food that you're eating.
Well, that's funny. Back to the health benefits a little bit. You're talking about satisfaction. Well, one of the things they're discovering is the very high level of satiety one feels after consuming high quality extra virgin olive oil. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of people that do like fat fast and do like a keto diet and low carb diet and those sort of things, and just diet in general. That they find if they incorporate olive oil in their diet, specifically really high quality olive oil, they stay fuller longer. And there are health studies on this. So there are lots of health studies related to the polyphenols, which I'd love for you to share with your folks. Also about weight loss and the high satiety rate of all extra high quality extra virgin olive oil. And even you mentioned deep fat frying. It's funny that you mentioned that. I don't use my olive oil for that, but I will tell you that they have found that olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, is the most stable of fats when deep fat frying. They produce what are called these polar compounds. And when they measured it against seed oils, this extra virgin olive oil, high quality extra virgin olive oil, especially because it has antioxidants in it that keep it from breaking down when it's being heated, these created the least amount of these polar compounds. So I'll share that study with you too, out of Australia. But there are great universities all over, like Jaén in Spain. They're always doing great research on olive oil. Greece, of course, Italy. There are amazing universities studying the health benefits of olive oil. And I've been very lucky to ride that wave over the last 20 years. And speaking of, people are starting to catch on about olive oil. There's a couple quotes I want to tell you. One was from the Wall Street Journal. It says, "Don't sleep on this game-changing ingredient. When it comes to olive oil, the younger the better. Vibrant, flavorful oleo nuovo is a pantry pick-me-up you should purchase pronto." So oleo nuovo is this new oil, fresh oil. And this is what they celebrate in places where olives are grown and olive oil is made. They only harvest one time a year, and it's a wonderful thing. The New York Times then went on to say, "The world of olive oil is murky. Here's help for the home cook. Don't try to parse every word on the label. The keys to good flavor are seeking out the freshest oil and using it generously. Olive oil should be poured lavishly and used up quickly. Experts say that freshness, more than color or price or place of origin, determines its quality. And that's direct from the New York Times.
Yeah.
So
Those are great concepts.
we're finally catching on. Like, this has been my mission for 20 years. Like, America was a dumping ground for crappy olive oil when I started this club in 2005. It's literally been 20 years. But America's catching on, and I'm really happy about it.
We have a couple of questions here. The first one, I use extra virgin olive oil on marinades before grilling or searing on the barbecue. Is this harmful?
It is not harmful. In fact, it's protective, actually. It is a great layer, and actually keeps things from oxidizing as much. So it's actually a great tip. I love that. And it does help impart a little flavor. Speaking of barbecuing, I don't know, one of the tips and tricks that we do in our house, if I'm, let's say, going to grill a steak or something like that, I put it on a small rack, almost like a cake cooling rack with a sheet pan under it. I put the steak on there and I leave it for about 8 hours. I flip it over 8 hours and let the air in the fridge dry out the steak. It creates this beautiful crust. So then when I marinate it with olive oil and then put it on my grill, it creates, a lot of steak can be watery, but what this does, it kind of dehydrates it's like fake or quick dry aging technique like they used to use in the old world. So anyway, it's a neat little trick, but I love grilling. And so I use it in two ways. I use it as a marinade. And a lot of times, Tom, I'll make a vinaigrette, let's say with fish, for example. I'll make a lemon ginger vinaigrette, and I'll use a little bit to dress my greens. I'll use a little bit in my marinade for my fish. I'll grill my fish, and then when I take it off the grill, I'll put it on a warm plate and I'll drizzle it with my vinaigrette. And that fish fillet just soaks up the vinaigrette, all the flavor, the fresh lemon and the garlic and the ginger. And then I serve that on my salad and done. It's just like a one and done. So olive oil can be the backbone of your healthy cooking if you will allow it to be. Even like, let's say I'm having a cheat day and I want to make, and I'm feeling a little lazy and I just want to make a box of brownies. So I get my Ghirardelli box of brownies, gluten-free Ghirardelli brownies. And it calls for, 1 cup of bland oil. Guess what I use? Olive oil. It makes incredible brownies. Like you can literally, or like zucchini bread, if you like to make that, or if you make, any kind of baked goods, it's good to get. And I don't know, how much you've educated your consumers about seed oils. And if you are pro or con, I get as many as I can out of my diet. And then I also schlepp to the restaurants with me a bottle of my olive oil, my wife's purse, because we say, give me a squeeze. I want lemon with my water. I need extra lemon because that's my secret vinaigrette hack. And I put that on my salad, and then my wife takes out the bottle of olive oil. Half the time I end up sharing it with the chef and the cook and the other people in the kitchen. But I drizzle that on my salad because a lot of the store-bought salad dressings you buy are filled with stabilizers and bad fats and sugars. So it's just like, boom, like I can easily get one crappy item and 12 bottles out of my fridge just by having incredible olive oil in my pantry.
That sounds marvelous, really marvelous.
And take a whole lemon and put it in the freezer and cut it in half and put it in the freezer, and then get a microplane grater. And anytime you would like some lemon, take the lemon out of the freezer, leave it frozen, take your microplane grater, run it across there, because you want that peel, you want the pith, you want the skin, you want the juice. That's where a lot of the health benefits are, on the outside of the lemon. You can grate that right over a piece of fish, right over your salad, and then drizzle it with some olive oil, and you're getting like your health benefit. You're going to feel it, right?
I'm drooling. I'm drooling here.
I know. So back to the health benefits, these polyphenols. So there was a food scientist from Philadelphia area, I believe, Jerry Beaucamp. I know his last name was Beaucamp. He traveled to Sicily just like I did, and he learned what real olive oil should taste like. And it burned the back of his throat. And that's a sign of freshness in olive oil. And he discovered, he was a scientist who worked in the field of ibuprofen. And he said, this gives me that same sensation in my throat that ibuprofen does. So he brought a bottle of that fresh Sicilian olive oil back to his lab, and he identified a compound that is akin to ibuprofen without the liver problems of
Yes.
ibuprofen. Like
Yeah.
there are so many health secrets that are kind of hidden in this ancient tree, this beautiful tree. It just really upsets me when I see most of the people not even knowing what the real thing. And it's partly being American. We didn't grow up around an olive tree. We didn't grow up going to an orchard and understanding what fresh pressed olive juice is. So that's the mission.
That's really marvelous. That's really marvelous.
That's what we do.
There's another question. Do you get the same health benefits by eating whole olives?
It's different. They're cured. They're cured. So it's different. They are still fantastic for you. I mean, I don't think there are any health issues involved. I will tell you, like the cheap California ones, or those that are like flash cured, or what they actually use a product called lye. They're lye cured. I'm not a fan of that quick curing. If you haven't noticed, I'm kind of an old world, kind of romantic guy. I don't like quick things. So I, if you can find some that are salt brine slowly, like a nice, let's say Greek Kalamata, or a nice, Giraffa, one of the big green olives, like those are absolutely delicious. And honestly, what I do, I take them off the olive bar, or I drain them from the jar. And I do this with any jarred product that's in oil. I immediately get rid of the crappy oil. I drain it out, and then I drizzle it with a little fresh olive oil and reconstitute it. And even olives, I'll toast some cumin seeds in a pan, just kind of crisp them up a little bit, and then put those right on my little bowl of green olives, drain the brine, put those cumin seeds on, or any flavor you like. You can use fennel seeds, which would be beautiful too. And then a drizzle of fresh pressed olive oil, kind of toss them around a little bit, and you're in heaven.
That's a really good point.
It's like just taking something simple like a grilled chicken, or even takeout, or any food, and you dress it up with a little bit of olive oil, fresh pressed olive oil, and it just comes alive. Like you just feel it being more bioavailable. And that's what they talk about with olive oil and these fat soluble vitamins. This olive oil makes things more bioavailable. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we have this higher level of satiety. Again, you're the doctor here. I'm not. I know enough about olive oil to be dangerous, but that's about it.
Let me take that question
Please.
from a different perspective. The example that I'll give you is tomatoes. Tomatoes are great for you. Of course, a quality tomato is so much better than a commercial poor quality or hothouse tomato. But the benefits for men and prostate function are because of from tomatoes is because of the lycopene in the tomato, which is a polyphenol. It's that category of anti-stress hormones in the plants. So these components, I call them hormones for our discussion, are there to protect the plant, to make the plant stronger against the stress that it's exposed to in growing in the environment that it grows in. And the primary polyphenols in tomato are lycopene. But the amount of lycopene that you get from a tomato is minuscule. But you can't get enough lycopene by eating fresh tomatoes to make a substantial difference in your health, in your prostate function or your prostate biomarkers. But when you look at the studies on the benefits of lycopene in tomatoes on prostate function, it's because they're using doses of lycopene that are equivalent to tomato sauce. When you cook tomatoes down, you concentrate them so that a tablespoon of tomato sauce has a whole lot more lycopene, the polyphenols in tomatoes, than a tablespoon of tomato. So eating olives is great for you. Of course, good quality olives are better, but it can't give you the benefits to your immune system, to the antibacterial and the antiviral benefits of olive oils. You can't get it without eating. I'm going to make up a number because I've not seen a study on this. You'd have to eat 30 to 50 olives, you know, and in a meal to get the benefits of the olive oil that you're putting on your salad, because it's so much more concentrated. They press and they accumulate in the oil is where most of these polyphenols are. So the answer is it's beneficial to eat olives, make sure they're good olives. My son loves olives. He'll eat maybe every 3 days, he'll ask for olives and he'll eat 20. This is a little 2.5-year-old. And then when, you know, he'll ask for fermented vegetables, you know, like sauerkraut, and he'll eat a good handful, you know, because he knows what he wants. So and it's not there's no sugar in these things. It's with the olives, his body is feeling nourished by it. But you can't get the same health benefits from eating olives that you would get from olive oil. So that's the direct answer to that question.
Oh, that's great. And, you know, one of the things I do is I send my oils to the top lab in Italy and I have them evaluated. It actually goes to 2 different panels at the lab. One is an organoleptic lab. So it's a panel of humans who evaluate the oil to look for a perfection, which means no defects, because anything that happens in the quality of making an olive oil shows on the nose when you taste it and smell it. And 2, it's evaluated for taste. So the taste they're looking for, the markers they're evaluating, and you will see on our lab reports if you request them, they're looking at the amount of fruitiness in the oil, how much aroma, how much green fruit they're smelling. They're also looking at, when they taste it, they're looking at bitterness. Bitterness is a marker. Bitterness tells you it's from very green fruit. So if your olive oil is not bitter, and I mean bitter like overbrewed green tea or walnut skin, that's the kind of bitterness you're looking for. And the third thing they're looking for is spiciness. And that spiciness tells them that the oil is fresh. So you'll see that from the organoleptic side on the lab report. And then on the other side, you see the chemistry parameters. And that there are markers in the chemistry panel that tell you the quality of the fruit. Was it degrading at the point of time when it was pressed? Was it damaged in some way by, you know, hailstorm, and then it damaged the fruit? So then you've got problems in the oil. And then lastly, what I measure is the polyphenol content. So the oils have different levels of polyphenols depending on whether they're mild, medium, and bold, what olive varieties, what Mother Nature gave us, the amount of rain at harvest, etc. Typically, let's say these oils from Chile that my club members are enjoying right now, most of them are 400 to 500 polyphenol count, which is pretty dang solid. There are some fake olive oils out there where they add artificial vitamins to try to bump up that polyphenol count. Those are not natural. When you taste them, they're not going to taste bitter. They're not going to taste spicy. There's something tricky going on there. I don't know exactly what. But anyway, what you're looking for when you evaluate an olive oil is this beautiful aroma and fruitiness, this beautiful bitterness, and also the spiciness. That's what you're looking for. And that will tickle the back of your throat when I say spicy. In Tuscany, the first time I tasted around the press there, the guys told me like, hey, TJ, be careful, be careful. And I'm like, well, what? And they're like, careful, this is a 3-cough oil. And I'm like, what do you mean a 3-cough oil? They're like, yeah, a mild oil is 1 cough. Medium oil is 2 coughs. Bold oil is 3 coughs. I'm like, I get it. Like, I love it. So I've hung on to that. And so I like a 3-cough oil. It tells me that it's like health promoting. And, if you're like a beer drinker and you're extreme, like you love IPAs because they're hoppy and flavorful, well, that's kind of how my olive oils are. They have a lot of flavor. They are not for everyone, and they take time to get accustomed to. I have people that will get the oil, they'll try it the first time, and they're like, this tastes like fresh grass. Did this come out of like my weed eater? What is this? And then they write in and they're like, I'll keep trying it. I want to love it. Dr. Tom told me I should love it and it's good for me. I'll keep trying it. A month later, when am I going to get my next bottles? I'm out of that oil. It's so good. Like, Americans in general don't love bitter things. Typically, we don't like super dark chocolate. We don't like really charred coffee. Now things have changed. We like Starbucks, and we also like dark chocolate for the health benefits. So our tastes are acclimating to different foods. Olive oil is something, a high quality olive oil that you may not be used to. If you're used to using only dried herbs, then you don't see the value in using fresh herbs for flavor or health benefits. And you don't like the flavor of fresh herbs like basil and rosemary and those sort of things, then maybe fresh pressed olive oil is not for you. This is
that's
full flavor.
That's what's so wonderful about your offer. For $1, you can try it. I mean, everybody should try it for $1. And even if you think, boy, I don't know, $99 every quarter for 3 bottles. Oh, I'm not sure about that. Well, for $1, you can try it to see, because the health benefits are exceptional. There was a question here about what are polyphenols. That's a really good question. Polyphenols are nutrients in fruits and vegetables. And these are the nutrients that help the plant protect itself against the stress that it's exposed to. And they're like hormones. They're not hormones, but you can kind of think of them that way. They help the plant to thrive. An example, some people have heard of the polyphenol resveratrol. Resveratrol is in red wine. And it is the reason why red wine really helps reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease. Not much, not a lot, but a little bit of red wine, a glass a day, a glass every couple of days, is really quite healthy for most everyone, unless they have a problem with alcohol. But it's the polyphenols in the red wine, it's the resveratrol in the red wine that all the studies show they activate your genes, turning on the genes to build younger, stronger cells. And so when you have enough resveratrol, you reduce the aging of your cells. The same thing with olive oils, that it's the polyphenols, and there are a number of them in olives and in olive oil, that enhance your body's ability to build younger, stronger cells. Polyphenols are the name of the game in terms of fruits and vegetables and why they're so good for you. There's also the fiber, which is critically important, and some vitamins and some minerals. But the real big kahuna in fruits and vegetables and reversing diseases, and every functional medicine practitioner that's going to talk to you about whatever disease you have is going to tell you the rainbow diet, which is lots of fruits and vegetables, because of the polyphenols in the fruits and vegetables. This type of olive oil, I've never seen or heard of access to something as high quality as this. So I think it's a win-win. Give it a shot for $1 and see what you think. And if you don't notice, wow, I like that, I really like that, then don't renew it. but for a buck, you can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong with that.
True. I appreciate it, Dr. Tom. We pride ourselves on being good guy company. We have a no questions asked, money back guarantee. If you've received the oil, we don't ask for it back. We give you a full refund. We want people to love this club, and our club members do. If you visit our members only Facebook page, or you get my pressing report that tells you all about the harvest and the farmers I've worked with, and has pictures of me in the grove. Like, I'm a micromanager all the way from the tree. I'm with that olive fruit all the way till it's to your table. And if I could set it on your doorstep, I would, to get it out of UPS. I ship second day air with UPS. Like, I mean serious business when it comes to getting the very best product to you at the highest quality I possibly can. Because literally it's a race against the clock with olive oil. Freshness matters. It starts to deteriorate the moment it's plucked from the tree. So my job is to rush it to the table and give you an experience. Those bottles, literally, I go to a restaurant and I'll buy a nice bottle of wine, $99 at dinner. It's gone in one meal. My olive oil anoints my food and gives me health benefits and the backbone of my healthy cooking for literally a whole quarter for $99. So, it's all these tablespoons of oil. There's 17 tablespoons in this one bottle. So, do the math. I mean, it's a luxury product, but it's a supplement as well.
It's a very beneficial luxury product. And for most of us, we need to move out the bad fats that are in the membranes of our cells, because we grew up eating too many French fries and over the years, too many trans fatty acids. And when you take in good oils, you move out the bad guys and you replace it with the good guys. And that's what enhances brain function. So, TJ, thank you so very much. It's really a pleasure to see you again. And I hope everyone gives your oil a shot for a buck. I think that's just a brilliant offer. And then for the planet, I'm really glad that you're doing the 3-month shipments at a time. It just saves up so much. And we all have to be thinking a little more about how can we take some of the load off of life on this planet. So anyway, thank